The first award is the London Centre for the Study of Contemporary Antisemitism £1,000 Book Prize. And I will simply introduce Dibyesh again, because Dibyesh was I'm not sure you're the chair of the judges. You were the chair of the judges, one of the three judges. And I guess I should say, embarrassingly, that a book that I edited was nominated for this prize. And just to explain that the way we dealt with that was by saying that we, as the London Centre, hope that we are producing a lot of really good books on anti-Semitism. And we thought it was a bit crazy if our own books, and in particular the books published by us and Routledge, would be excluded from the prize. So I very much trust that I will not win. But let me explain the safeguard, and the safeguard is that we have very seriously independent judges. Dibyesh.
Thank you so much. While they're sorting it out, you can ignore it. Well, that's fine. Well, we were very independent. In fact, I didn't know the other two judges, but we worked together. And all I would say, we had our own disagreements over the strengths and weaknesses of individual books, but there was a consensus on the first prize. So that's what I would just say to you, that, right? And of course, and we were not influenced by who has asked us to look into the book, so that you can be reassured. But before I go on to the book thing, I did want to again thank you for Harriet and Adley and David for the conversation earlier. And you did bring the university thing up. We do need to learn from each other, and I speak as a university leader, on what to do and what not to do. And context might be different, but it is important. It is important, and a lot of time we do it too. We talk of top universities. Like Westminster is not a top university. And all I would say is we put in more effort to make each person, not only Jewish, but others also, be involved in many of the top universities. So one thing maybe we need to start challenging ourselves is the whole notion of hierarchy within the universities, because that's number one. Second, academic freedom is an interesting one, because I've always found that people, sadly, in university sector, we have got this competition, but when I want to speak, I want my academic freedom, but when you want to speak, then you say, you're not allowed to speak. So I find it very odd that let's take Israel-Palestine again. Supporters of boycott, divestment, sanctions, clearly against academic freedom, right? They want boycott, divestment, sanction. And yet, they'd always bring statement of how their right to speak for pro-Palestine position is being curbed by the university. So I have never found a clear answer of how can one balance between supporting BDS, but also saying that my right to speak on Palestine is being curbed by certain universities. Again, we have looked at universities. Are we very shocked that any university is curbing any of the right? Yes, of course, we would curb if someone is very anti-Semitic, is calling for violence, we would shut it down. But otherwise, I do understand that most universities allow for certain speeches. And finally, you mentioned DEI, that's US context. In UK context, we talk of EDI. And I'm urging all of you, maybe you're already with me or maybe you're not with me, is rather than again, I have worked on Islamophobia, I've read on anti-racism, various prejudices, right? Even transphobia, other things. That rather than seeing these issues in competition, it might be more fruitful if we see them as coming from similar kind of ideas. I feel really sad when I found that anti-black racism, anti-Semitism, rather than being seen as similar, is seen in competition with each other. Right? And that's something I would urge, and maybe we need more conversation on that. I'm more than happy to have it. Let's have more conversation how to make sure that rather than competing over who's a bigger victim, we look at different marginalized groups and see how all of us in our own different ways and different contexts suffer. That's the context, right? And that's something I learned from the books, by the way. So I'm assuming that's still being set up. So I'll proceed. So I should proceed with this, right? Yeah, good, I'll do that, don't worry. So we had 3 criteria that we used. We looked at the broader criteria of contribution to analysis of contemporary anti-Semitism. That was the contribution. Then we had 3 sub-criteria: originality and depth of research and analysis on contemporary anti-Semitism. So originality and depth of research and analysis. And we did find that if some book is very well written but doesn't have much analysis, that would not usually win. Second criteria was writing and accessibility for the intended audience. And the intended audience were not universities, but wider public. So we looked at both. And third, of course, was potential impact on challenging anti-Semitism. So these were three criteria. The writing part, impact on challenging anti-Semitism, and of course the originality and depth of research and analysis. The various books, I'll not go through that, right? So do you want me to go through each book? I don't remember what the slides were. No. Come on. Okay, fine. So I said, forget the one that wins. But on others, there was some way we felt that they were very good, very well written, very passionate, but there was no analysis, right? So those we did not rank very high, but there were three books that we commended. When we say those three books we commended, it means they didn't win the prize, by the way. That's why we say commending. So you can understand that. One was, and I could stop, that's where is David, right? David Hirsch edited book. It's a commended one, it's not a winner. So anyway, you don't have to thank me later. That David there, right? And we did find, I'm just reading, excellent collection with comprehensive and original introduction and strong essays. Not all chapters are of equal strength. Impressive collection of papers. So where we found was, of course, the edited collection is always tricky, right? You have got some chapters that are amazingly analytical, others that are not. And that's always difficult to judge, but we did find that David's book, David edited book, not David's book. David's edited collection was an important one. The second one which we commented was Alan Johnson's, which is a very good collection. It has some of the most important essays written on the subject in the last 2 decades. However, for this to be a strong book, and this is why it was commended and not won, is we did feel that the introduction had to be more detailed into what it is doing rather than just a collection of essays. Now, when I'm pointing out what we felt was a weakness, doesn't mean it was weak. Remember, we are talking of the three criteria we're using. If it was a purely academic thing, maybe the results would have been more different. Johnson. And then third one was Nelson's book, Hate Speech, a thoroughly researched take on anti-Semitism, academia and beyond. The subject matter, and this is why it was commended and we didn't think it would win, is because the key subject was academic freedom, and yet there was insufficient tackling of the topic of anti-Semitism itself. But we did feel that it was full and well-researched treatment of the topic, intellectually demanding and satisfying. So basically, amazing books. And you can imagine that in my case, I carried all these books in one single suitcase from here to Boston, where I was speaking on reincarnation Tibet, that's my area, by the way. Then on tensions on campus, how to handle, how not to handle, right? Second. Then I flew from there to Tashkent. Yes, with my handbag having 12 or 14 books on anti-Semitism. Tashkent, because we have university there. And I just was hoping that someone in immigration will stop me and look at the books and ask about it. Because then I could educate. Because I do want to emphasize that, of course, I know in community you can have discussion, but the key thing is not to give up on universities. Key thing is not to give up on different generation. Key thing is not even give up on at least the progressives who might adopt certain anti-Semitic tropes. I'm not talking Corbyn generation, I'm talking the younger generation. But not give up, but focus on education, making inclusive. On that, we had a full agreement on who the winner ought to be. And we agreed that it was very lucid, comprehensive, readable, scholarly, critical analysis of different facets of anti-Semitism and contemporary times. The range of topic subjects is highly impressive. Every single sentence, so it's a quote, every single sentence and argument is worth reading and understanding multiple times. That's what we agreed, and all three of us, on the winner, which is Shalom Aleichem, who I believe is here. Yeah, it's not that easy to come, so one has to be careful while... Yeah, okay. Thank you, please. So, thank you, congratulations. And now I said, imagine there's a check here, or in an envelope, which we don't, but you will get it. So, this is an imaginary check. I don't know what to give to you, but something, right? Thank you so much. But it's better. But we really meant it, every word we said. This is the best book I have read in a long time, but all of us completely 100% agree with the winner. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. This is a great honor, particularly considering the high quality of the other candidates who are my colleagues and good friends. This is the first time I won anything since the age of 7, when I took my fish tank to the schoolyard in Toronto, and I was awarded first prize, largely by sweet-talking the judge, which I didn't have an opportunity to do this time. I'm extremely honored by your kind words and by the award. I should say I'm also sad that we need to have an award of this kind. My day job is computer science. So I wrote this book out of a sense of necessity and desperation, as I'm sure my colleagues do too. And I feel it's very unfortunate that we have to spend this kind of time working on the problem of anti-Semitism rather than concerning ourselves with the kinds of things that all of us should be involved in our respective fields and in the societies we live in. I also would like to pay tribute to David and the London Centre, which he built, which is doing invaluable work on scholarly research and also in promoting an understanding of the phenomena that is blighting the lives of so many of us. So thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. And as you pointed out, but we did feel with each and every book we read is the pain, and I did want to the pain and the emotion, but also partly frustration, of course, with what is happening, but also hope. So where we got from your book also was hope of what to do in order for us not to talk about it in the future, because this phenomenon will not exist. But until that we reach that situation, we need to keep talking and challenging. So thank you so much for this. Yeah, thank you.